You're watching a Highwire Media podcast.
Hello and welcome to a very special season screenings episode of 8-Bit Christmas, a review. Before we do that, give us a thumbs up if you like our videos, hit that subscribe button down below, the bell notification button to be notified of future videos, and as always, let me know what you thought of the movies we feature, but this week being 8-Bit Christmas. With that, let's dive into our review. Set in Chicago during both modern day and the late 80s, 8-Bit Christmas tells a story about Jake Doyle and his quest to get a Nintendo Entertainment System for Christmas. Neil Patrick Harris stars as an adult Jake Doyle who tells his story to his daughter, an angle that makes this film feel like a new take on a Christmas story. Winslow Fegley plays young Jake during most of the film, accompanied by a group of friends on that quest when they all realize that none of them will be getting an NES for Christmas. Aside from Neil Patrick Harris, Steve Zahn and David Cross are a few other notable names that star in this movie. As they should be, the kids are the highlight of this movie. They each have their quirks, which brings me back to older films such as The Sandlot. For example, one is a pathological liar, while another is a reluctant, nerdy type. I love most of the movies in which the kids are the stars, where we see those quirks utilized as both humor and strengths. We get to see that happen again during one final attempt to acquire the NES. Hearing/seeing a kid regurgitate SpaghettiOs is quite gross, yet a strong example. While none of these roles will ever be iconic, it was always a good time when these kids were on screen. I only wish we got to see more hijinks from them because, for a significant portion, the goal was to get into the local rich kid's house to play the console. Next, I have to mention the adults. They are painfully cringy, which feels intentional, and is usually the case with this kind of movie. Jake's dad, played by Steve Zahn, plays a handyman type of father that doesn't seem to care about much of anything except for saving a buck. At one point, an incident calls for a ban on video games in the region. A scene in which the protest begins with the cleverly awful catchphrase of "video game over" feels like the equivalent of a Christmas story's "you'll shoot your eye out." The adults aren't meant to be likable in this movie, but what I appreciate even more is that my opinion of one particular character changed by the end. An hour and 37 minutes long, I thought the pacing was great and no scene overstayed its welcome. This won't be the funniest movie you've ever seen in the holiday seasons, but the humor is on brand for this kind of movie. There were times in which I forgot this movie was, at one time, a release, meaning that it could have come out in the era it takes place in, or even the early 90s. It was nice that we got a few short moments to see adult Jake interact with his daughter, which served as transitions between the more significant flashback scenes. What 8-Bit Christmas doesn't, or what I should say, what 8-Bit Christmas does best is that it makes a story from a different era feel surprisingly relevant today. The story of a kid's desire for an NES is the same plight people are going through with PlayStation 5s, Xbox Series X's, and graphic cards. The timing of this movie's release couldn't have been better because there isn't any way it could have been intentional. Many kids want one of those new consoles for Christmas, but parents won't be able to acquire them even if they have the money to do so. That relevancy makes me appreciate the movie's ending even more because it won't give your children false hope for this holiday. You watch the film with them. In pre-COVID times, I could see this movie being a moderate success at the box office. For 2021, it was distributed on HBO Max, which was the right call. 8-Bit Christmas won't be considered a modern holiday classic. It feels like an ode to those before it. You won't be laughing your face off when watching this movie, but you'll have a good time. And lastly, this movie could have easily been a nostalgia-fueled roller coaster of things people remember. However, it respects its viewers more than that by paying homage. It was like what was likely a simpler era. So, in the end, positives of the film, you had the nostalgic appeal, the transition scenes, great cast, and a pretty good ending. Unfortunately, for the negatives, it was mainly an unoriginal plot, and the adult characters didn't really do it for me. So the bottom line, 8-Bit Christmas won't be considered a modern classic, but I can see it becoming a holiday staple in many households. Let me know what you thought of 8-Bit Christmas in the comment section below. Of course, You want to support the channel? You can buy us coffee at buymeacoffee.com/cinemagold. Your support helps the channel grow, upgrade our equipment, bring in new hosts, be able to pay them, and take this show on the road. Your support can help make that happen. As always, you can find us on all major podcast platforms, including Good Pods, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts from. And as always, thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll see you next time.